bonus episode.
Bonus episode.
Stop trying to turn it into a dirty joke. You're
okay, bonus episode 3 of our little series. Episode 4, when's that coming out? When Derek stops sprinting.
When Derek stops sprinting, whatever sprinting is, Mr. Derek Nerdman. Anyway, so Colin, we met with Kayla.
So this is Colin from ShootProof.
ShootProof,
so this third interview was we interviewed ShootProof. ShootProof are a big operation.
Oh, are they big?
And they have got some really cool stuff coming.
And did you know that they also are the owners of...
Táve?
Yeah, sure. But the other one... Design
a glow,
that's right. Yes, I saw
that. Is
that
public information?
Yeah, it was on one of the emails. That's how I found it.
Okay, cool.
They were like, ShootProof presents something.
So they got a serious amount of integration.
Yeah,
with
they're like uber American kind of super duper systems and heads of departments, and like they are a real machine of industry.
But even with that scale and that, they're very responsive.
Yeah, they are, but they're like real grown-ups. They're like proper grown-up business people.
It's like you watch them, you go, "Oh, how do we
we are so far out of their league." Like they're like a business, and we are just sitting there going, I think I managed to like have breakfast this morning. I don't know. They're such grown-ups.
I answered my emails today.
That's right. And their stuff is cool very, very solid, and they're very considered in what they do, very strategic and planned, and they're real bloody grown-ups. But,
And they're based in Atlanta, Georgia, eh?
They are. They're just...
well, not in Atlanta, they're... in that
Kayla and Colin were lovely when we met them. We met them at the
Baby Summit.
And that was way back in when I knew nothing about anything. And I was like, who are these tiny people? Because they're both tiny. They're both like midget people. I mean, most people are midget people because I'm 30 foot tall.
They're not midget people.
But they were like super tiny people.
And midgets are not a word you can use anymore.
Oh, shit. No, okay. They're not that kind of little person. They're just short. Okay, like normal short people. I'm just giant.
They're normal heighted people.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Just because you're Kate Zilla.
You're correct. So, and I was just like, I don't even know what they do. Like, what is this thing, this ShootProof thing? And so I was pretending to be, because you were all, oh my God, it's ShootProof. Oh my God, it's ShootProof. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is that? Who does that? What is it? I don't understand. Yeah. And you had to like.
And for them to come out for the baby summit and support that.
Yeah, and to see us and buy us lunch at dinner. And then I recommended the Barramundi in Queensland, and Queensland let the side down by giving us the worst Barramundi I've ever had in my entire life.
But then Kayla came to Adelaide,
she
and she visited the lab and did some videos and that sort of stuff. And we gave her some nice food when she came here.
We did. We made up for Queensland's failure.
Sorry, Queensland.
Anyway, listen to ShootProof be grown-ups.
Yes.
Mega super grown-ups.
Yes.
And Paul then pretends to be a grown-up for a short period of time. And have fun.
Enjoy. All right, let's get it rolling. Hi, it's Paul Atkins here on the podcast, the Atkins Labcast, and I'm on the phone with Colin and Rachel from ShootProof. Now, you guys are clearly in different parts of the world, or the US. Where are you both? Colin, tell us where you're sitting at the moment.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia, and Rachel?
So I am in Decatur, Georgia, which is a sister city to Atlanta, Georgia, next door. The smaller city next door.
Cool.
And I speak of it as Atlanta. I'm in Marietta. It's about 20 minutes north. So there you have it.
So you are both hovering around Atlanta. Yeah. And tell me, what's the feeling personally in your families and in the environment around you with the current lockdown and the coronavirus? Do you feel the press of it? Or is everything pretty okay personally?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, things are okay personally. I don't have any family members that have become ill, so that's very thankful and blessed for that. I think certainly know of some people that have come down with it, typically younger, and they've recovered or recovering. So feel good about it, but certainly want to do our social good and try to keep distance so some of the elderly don't get it that seem to be more susceptible to death, right? But yeah, overall good. Just trying to do our part.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think, my family is feeling really thankful for our health and to be together. Homeschooling is challenging, of course. There's a bit of chaos involved, but it's also an opportunity to reset. And I think even today I was thinking I just took a 30-minute walk with my 4-year-old son, which I don't normally get to do during the workday. And it was really refreshing. And to see his sense of wonder and, total peace at the moment is really encouraging. Our community is mostly filled with first responders, front lines, folks at Emory University Healthcare, CDC. A lot of CDC families are my next door neighbors, and so to see them and some of the strain they're going through is really humbling. But
so that's the Center for Disease Control in the US, which is in many ways ground zero, if not emotionally for the whole thing.
Yes,
that must be really interesting.
It is really interesting, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for our neighbors and their commitment. It just puts things into perspective on what really matters most right now, and to see them working so hard is it's humbling for sure, but also encouraging. We have great minds working on this, and I think that we're going to come out on the other side with added innovation. Certainly,
I think everyone feels that way. Everyone. So Rachel, what's your role at ShootProof?
So at ShootProof, my role is Director of Product Marketing. So I am responsible for building the stories around the ShootProof product and the brand of the family of brands that we now run. So it's a lot of fun, and it's certainly, I would say right now especially, it's a challenge because we have to think differently about how the tools that we make actually can help photographers in the moment. I think everyone's more in the moment now than maybe ever before. So it's a new way of thinking for me and for my team. Yeah.
And Colin, you're one of the founders of ShootProof. You're that's the guy that started it all off.
That's right. Yeah, co-founder of ShootProof. I've recently moved into a chief strategy officer role. So we brought on a CEO to the company. He's tremendous. So so excited for the path forward and new focus for me. So it's good.
Wow, you bought us like I can't. I'm going. Oh, how does that happen? But of course, I'm a small-minded, small business person. I think, could I bring someone in that would boss? I kind of did, my wife, I suppose. But you have someone. There's people who are really good at their jobs like that, aren't they? That's what they do for a living, is put big organizations together. Because you guys have grown considerably over the last few years, haven't you?
Yeah, we've grown tremendously. We bootstrapped the company, Robert and I, back in late 2010. We launched, so it was a decade almost, and in December of 18, we've been profitable and had a great growth. We took on an investment from Providence Strategic Growth, so private equity, growth equity. So I was CEO the last year and a half, and then we kind of got to a point where, for me, as she mentioned with family, I think doing 3 acquisitions, a lot of growth, private equity, new executives, it was time for doing a lot of other M&A, looking at acquisitions beyond what we've done. There wasn't much breadth for me, and much the split to family wasn't what I wanted it to be. Kayla and I were actually supposed to get married a couple weeks ago. So with coronavirus, we're maybe getting married in the backyard this week. We're looking into it, but there's been a lot going on, obviously, and my family's most important than the kids. So I think it was the right time, and Steve, our new CEO, is tremendous. So excited to work with his leadership as part of the company. Yeah.
And giving you the ability to focus, because like you both are customer focused, and I mean, that's all businesses today. If they're not customer focused, it's incredible to think you could be anything else. But how have you found your customers? I've asked you how you both are coping with the current situation. You guys would see a lot of metrics on the photographers, what's coming in their doors. How has it changed over this lockdown period? What's the feeling?
Yeah, I'll say a couple things, Rachel. You can kind of build on. I think from a metric standpoint, I mean, clearly, sometimes I think of it as our entire customer base has been furloughed. If you think of it, it's not really true, right? There's certainly some opportunities, but it's pretty minimal for a client-based photographer, whether it be portraiture or wedding or certainly school photography, other types that would we require events to gather. It's very difficult. So I think for us, we're definitely seeing we do a lot of payment processing around like a session fee or wedding retainer or shoots in that way. So we can see the data on the amount of jobs booked and session fees paid. And that's certainly taken a pretty hard nosedive. It's not down to zero by any means, but it's certainly tremendously down. And on the positive side, we also see lab orders like you do, and we haven't seen the printing or orders drop as significantly, which is great. I know there's some lag to that, just given the shoots aren't being booked as much, but there's been enough time that it should have fallen further. And I think there's a lot of memories that have already been made and chances to kind of relook at photos, and people have a lot of time on their hands. So it's a great time for photographers to really think back about not only their systems for the future, but their systems for now, and how they can, we can give them tools to sort of work with their clients in the moment as well. So
I am surprised by the amount of work you guys are putting through us. Just, incidentally here in Adelaide, I don't quite understand why it's so strong. I know, as you said, there is a lag, but in Australia, weddings maybe 4 weeks to 6 months at the outside would be the lag from shooting the wedding. So we really should be seeing some drops from events and portraits, because certainly portraits can't be shot. Have you got a feel for? You said you're getting some bookings, seeing some session bookings. You got any feeling for? Are they booking for stuff in the future? Do you have any feeling for that, or is that people actually managing to maybe do portraits or running some sort of a session-based thing? Is you seeing any of that?
Yeah, I'll let Rachel build on it. I mean, certainly weddings, to your point, are future events. A lot of events are canceled, but weddings particularly are still going to happen, and a lot of them are being rebooked, obviously, later this year potentially, or ones that we're going to get booked for 2021 are certainly going to happen as they normally would for the most part. But Rachel, do you want to build on some of the portraiture and other work?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think about photographers being the ultimate like hustlers. Like we know how to get out there and find a way to communicate, through our cameras and through the vision that we have. And I've seen a lot of photographers step up in ways that I find completely inspiring. There's a photographer in Arlington, Virginia, who's doing distance senior class portraits for the entire senior class, which is 500 plus students of, I think it's Yorktown High School, which is a pretty prestigious high school in Arlington. I actually think he may be a customer. I'm not 100% sure, but Matt is amazing. And much like Matt, I see in groups that I'm in, Facebook and beyond, customers and beyond ShootProof saying we're doing portraits, we're doing FaceTime sessions, virtual sessions, actually, going back through photos from previous sessions and reliving memories and like surfacing those memories again so that they can be now culled and compiled and recreated into books. A lot of creativity that I'm seeing. And, one thing that I continually hear from photographers, and I think this is 100% what we have to remember, is that, we're not, as photographers, we're not just, taking pictures. We're actually, creating visual assets that are memories that carry long beyond any current crisis. And so I think the photographers who remember that and like feel that sense of urgency to help their client base resurface those memories and to continue making memories now, but also revisiting the ones that are already in those sort of vaults, virtual vaults of photos it's so encouraging to know that photographers are thinking that way and helping their clients feel more connected to those memories right now. And frankly, it's like a security blanket. We need those memories right now more than ever.
Yeah. So you can certainly you can feel that there's always been that anecdote about crises where they run out the door with a photo album when the house is on fire. I've seen photographs of our Prime Minister standing in floodwaters with a family and they're clutching their photo albums. So, there's no doubting that. And I think this kind of brings it home, especially if you've got a little bit more time, you're thinking about it. And I think that's where it's a great opportunity to cast your mind back to who you've photographed and what you've done with them, and build perhaps the galleries out that they may not have seen or they may need to revisit. Like there's so much back catalogue, and those people already know who you are as a photographer. They've bought from you before. You're pre-qualified, to put it in a kind of a sales term. But if they get this right, imagine how much better it's going to be when we emerge from all of this.
I agree. And I think photographers need to be encouraged to position themselves as the family curator a little bit more, that this is that time where suddenly you're sort of, in that position to help them in a way that even though you may have done before, you were so busy shooting and generating new photos that, to actually revisit the ones you've already shot. And I was actually looking, Colin, it's interesting, I was looking at data in like 2019, it looked like our galleries received over almost 24 million unique consumer visitors to our gallery.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to me that, again, photographers have their fingers on the pulse of, frankly, family history, American history, global history through these photos. So it's a powerful thing.
So you were a photographer first, were you, Rachel? Originally, were you?
Yes, yeah. So I was a photojournalist for a few years, and realized that I didn't want to risk never having a family to follow that calling. So I started photographing weddings. That was in 2002, shortly after my own wedding.
Yeah.
So I kind of traded a front row seat to world history to a front row seat to family history, and it's kind of never looked back, honestly. So now I'm more of a steward of other photographers' work at this point. But
That's
yeah.
cool. And Colin, what was the thing that pushed ShootProof off? What got it going for you? Why did you get involved and want to make a gallery system like you've got? Like, it's an incredible, and it's such a deep asset you've built now. It started somewhere.
Yeah, thanks. We will. I mentioned my co-founder. We'd just gone to college together. It was several years before, we'd met there, and post college, we just, several years after, got together, and it was really our skill sets. Frankly, it was that we wanted to start a company together. He was an engineer. I had the business, sort of marketing, SEO side of it, and I think we had a good skill set together. Of course, you'd love to do something good, right, for the world as part of creating a business if you can. And I think for us, we were lucky to kind of stumble into photography, honestly. His wife was getting into wedding photography in 2009, and it was really, looking into systems for her, and we didn't like that. We started looking at it together. We didn't like the fact that there were a lot of fees, be it a software sort of a SaaS fee, a subscription type fee, as you'd expect. Nowadays is even more common. On top of that, they were typically like 10 to 20% of sales taken. So it was like you had a solopreneur that was bringing their customer to your platform. And we kind of felt like, hey, there's a lot of kind of land grab here from a monetary standpoint with these solopreneurs, and the design needed help. So we really kind of thought we found a really good opportunity to build a business, that we could do something great here. There were lots of people. And for us, one thing just to say is what kind of got us off the ground is we found some customers. We took care of those with answering the phones and things that they didn't have to really learn, because we needed to learn and we wanted to serve them well. And I think early on we got it's so easy to use, and of course it was easy to use. It didn't do very much, but you build on that, so you start somewhere. And luckily that's something we still hear today, and it does a lot more. So it's been a great journey. But that's how I got started, was through just trying to find an opportunity to build a company. We're both very passionate, and we're able to stay at it and kind of stay looking ahead. So.
Well, we saw you. I can't remember, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Must have been early days, but you guys were stellar. The growth between then and now, like I think everyone I've spoken to who is in the similar sort of business that you have, they've all seen really good growth right up to, of course, our little friend, the pandemic. And you would have had a road out front. You got plans, your things you're wanting to do. What happened when the pandemic, you sort of rose up in your attention? Did you start looking at redesigning things? And did you look at pivoting things to sort of to help people during this with your products and the way they work and that kind of stuff, or were you on that road already?
Yeah, you're just saying kind of over the last couple months and this year basically, right? Wow, how we changed. Yeah, I would say immediately, and we had things in the roadmap that we brought forward. I mean, we kind of looked ahead and said, what's going to be most important now? And we got in our team obviously had a lot of ideas. We use Slack, so it's really easy to kind of communicate internally and have ideas both surface from customers and then even from our own team, right? Obviously, that have creative ideas of ways to help photographers in the moment and in this time. So things like pulling forward a private community. We typically been on Facebook, and there's only so much you can do having a Facebook group. So we fast forwarded the build of our own private community that's launched just recently. So they're able to
get off of Facebook.
Get off Facebook.
Get off Facebook.
Yes. And that lets us do things like, obviously new users can go to a private area just for them because they're in a certain headspace with our product, but others are just trying to share jobs they may have of a booked up wedding that they can't shoot now because they're double booked later in the year. So just ways to share ideas. I think we've seen some really creative things there, like folks talking about how, different ideas about how to share galleries. I think Rachel mentioned the one, and you mentioned about how to post a past gallery. Well, it's really more about, hey, think about making a slideshow for your customer and or sending them a direct link to the slideshow of a past shoot to say, look, I'm hoping to make more memories like this in the future, where you're not really selling them now. It's not all about necessarily making print sales now. It's about positioning yourself for that, 1 year photo, even though you missed the newborn or the 6 month or whatever it may be. There's more chances to shoot that family and keep that relationship so they stick with you over time. So we've seen a lot of ideas shared there. And we've done other small features around in the product around for marketing and inside the gallery itself. So we fast forwarded some of those things. But overall, we've stayed committed to the path we were on. We feel strong about it. We feel like like photographers, will come as a ShootProof, as the software company piece of it, will come out of this stronger as well and better stick at the roadmap that made sense at the first of the year for the most part. That'll still make sense, in November, December.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, if everything goes as planned, and we stay isolated, and we can run this virus down. I mean, I figure you're either going to get it, or you're going to get vaccinated, or you're going to stay apart. There's the three options we got. If we do that, all those weddings are being postponed. October's looking crazy for weddings, and so hopefully, we'll get there and we can have a really nice October. Rachel, you must have been holding some hands as well through this process, because you're right there in the community forums, contacting photographers. Have you found that they're feeling okay and there's a bit, sort of solidarity, and they are working on their businesses?
I do. I think I've been amazed at just the resilience of photographers. I mean, we're kind of a resilient bunch anyway. It's a kind of resilient family of people. But I think, photographers, have kind of doubled down on their creativity and said, hey, let's turn our creativity from, being behind the camera and shooting to working on our business. And so we've had a lot of photographers suddenly blogging a lot more. We actually recently, as an enterprise, have brought on a lot of photographers to guest blog for us, which we've historically not done very actively. And it's been amazing to see the results of having photographers share their story firsthand on the ShootProof blog, and actually, create a conduit for them to talk about both their coronavirus experiences. We had one woman, a photographer in Brooklyn, New York, who said, I quit my full-time job and then the coronavirus hit. She quit her job for photography. Now she's in a totally different situation, but nonetheless, optimistic and finding ways to focus on building out, her SEO strategy, revamping her website, actually reconnecting with vendors, and spending a lot of time on the relationships that can continue right now, even more so. I think there's a level of we're all in this together, so let's double down on our relationships and the connections between us, and really prioritize that human connection that reminds us that we're going to get through this. And in fact, it's almost like all the pretense and the ego has been stripped away, because we're all on the same playing field. And I think Megan, this photographer I was just mentioning, she's a great example of that. And we've had so many more ShootProof photographers who've said, oh yeah, I'm finding ways to actually go back to my passion projects. We have one photographer who's selling fine art prints of his very artistic portraits of large aircraft. I mean, it's, he's a wedding photographer, yet I looked at his gallery and I actually bought a few prints and thought, this is stunning work. Photographers taking time to say, my passion project actually matters, and I'm going to revisit it and maybe put it out there to my clients to say,
it matters to the clients for sure.
Yeah, exactly. The other side of me. This is why you picked me for your wedding, because I also see this way, and I care about these kinds of projects. So it's pretty phenomenal.
There's a lot of grounded Virgin Australia flights right now. You could go on it, get your camera.
Yeah, I know. I'm not quite sure. What my brother flies for Jetstar, which is Qantas's cheaper arm. He's been leave without pay. He's trying to get into a supermarket to work packing shelves, because he's got he's got 4 boys and all this sort of stuff. But the Virgin thing, it's it's owned by a whole bunch of people, and Richard Branson's like the 10%, and the others are other airlines. So we're all a little bit like, should we be saving this? And,
right.
Where should we be putting, the government should be putting its money toward? Of course, the employees are the big issue with that. And are we going to be traveling so much? I mean, you guys are in a wonderful industry where you can actually work from home should you choose, even though it seems to be Colin is making you. Hey, by the way, Colin, did you note that she went out for a half-hour walk with the, with the sun? Yeah. You got that noted?
I think it's it's interesting. It is. I think this is where, honestly, I mean, you need trust more than anything in an organization now, especially. And we had Friday work from home, so our organization, fortunately, to your point, with Slack and Zoom, we already had these things in place. Certainly, we had tested it, and we were, in terms of doing Fridays anyway. And I think we were better positioned. So I'm very thankful for that. But I think you could still get into that micromanage mindset, like, are they working? Is this team working? And that can really eat you up. And I think it can eat your team up, because I think there's enough pressure right now. We're even hearing from some members like, oh, either the husband or wife or spouse thinks that their job's more important than the other and they should do the schoolwork. And there's a lot of pressure already inside families just trying to, kind of manage this now. So we try to extend trust. We try to have check-ins and bump meetings and just really be supportive. But yeah, I think if you did say she was on a walk, I'll go back to the time clock and check that out.
I got to say, I think one of the things the productivity, people in crises, productivity does go down a bit, but I think when we relax about the idea of working from home and those that can do it, I think we'll find that everyone is more productive. You remove that commute time out of it, familiar environments, and if they're making what you want and that and you're paying them for what they're making, doesn't matter that she took a half-hour walk. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's a blessing to be able to fit that in. I'm hopeful, and this was to your comment about Virgin and flying. The airlines were in they weren't really going anywhere. They were in a price war to zero. They were flogged, threadbare. The seats were terrible. The prices were so cheap that I wonder whether we were going nowhere anyway, and it needed to stop, and prices need to go up for airfare, and we need to work out a better way. And of course, we're filling the skies with jet fumes, contrails, because the government's spreading, isn't it, that stuff that makes us mind-controlled juices that come out of back of planes or something like that? Any rate, I think we're going to be better off from the end. And I don't think trust is going to be such a big thing along those lines. I think it's going to be, frankly, I'm super optimistic about the effects for the environment and for work and productivity.
I think there's been a lot more authenticity too. Like it's now okay. Like at first you feel pressure, someone's dog's walking in the background, they feel bad about it, or a child comes in, and it's just a norm now, and it kind of brings people. It's really who we are and what life looks like anyway. And I think we're more okay with that. It's really opened that up, and that's been interesting to see as well. And I think a lot of companies, to your point, is going to change a lot of things about how we work, and it'll be for the better. I totally agree. Photographers are already used to certainly working from home and having dynamic work times. Yeah. So I think it's less of a shift from that standpoint for photography.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because our UXR team, it's amazing UX research team we have, does a lot of calls with photographers, and we're having this discussion today with a couple of UXR folks. They said, I remember doing these calls before with photographers and hearing like kids screaming in the background and thinking, oh my goodness, photographers, their lives are total chaos. And now my life is total chaos too. And it's like, it's so real. And I think we need that. And I think it was actually a healthy thing. Like before, so many photographers know what it's like to be, working with your kid pulling on your arm saying, hey, mommy, I need to I need your attention for this craft project. But yet, mommy's talking to a wedding client who's planning her wedding. Like it's just, photographers are used to that. So now it's, I think, good for enterprises to realize that our customers and us were a lot alike. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's so much energy spent putting that suit on, putting that metaphorical face on, or going to that office that is large to accommodate all those people. There's so much energy put into that, and the commute and all that sort of stuff. Maybe we're going to be able to buy back a bit of this energy, with what's happened with this reset. So, guys, look, this has been a wonderful chat, but it's getting late over there for you guys. Is there anything you want to bring before we wrap up? Is there anything you want to mention that we may have missed in our little chat? No,
I don't think so right away. I think I think at ShootProof we're focused deeply on our core values, and that's really kind of leading us through this with our customers. Like prioritizing human connection. Just say one, it's really interesting to have a value like that, prioritizing human connection, but not be able to be in person together. But I think the fact that we have Zoom and the way we're kind of thinking about ways for our customers to do Loom videos or FaceTimes, and not us creating those ideas for.
Did Colin just freeze for you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think for a second.
Yeah, I've got him frozen.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Well,
sharing those ideas. You have to cut it earlier.
Yeah. Sorry, Colin, we lost you for a second there. You just froze, mate.
Okay.
But we got you now.
Okay, well, maybe that's less important of a point now, so you can cut it out.
No, that's cool. Well, look, your customer support has always been excellent, and from our perspective, like we hear about, oh, this isn't working, that's working, where's this? And it just doesn't happen. So, you guys, you do what you say you do. You do you do live what you say you live, and that's a really cool position to be in for a business that's growing and managed to maintain it through some pretty stellar growth. Thank you so much for your time. We'll probably do this chat again sometime. Maybe schedule something with Rachel and in maybe 6 months once this is all over, because I'd love to hear about how the customers that you're spending time with, how they've motored through it and some of the good stories that come out of it. I think all that stuff is helpful because we can all learn from one another. And good on you for setting up your own forum. That's excellent. We too are looking at setting one up using the discourse system because Facebook's okay, but man, it's just petrol to a fire some days, and it's unhealthy, that system. And I don't want to support that sort of thing. So good on you for setting your own system up. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
And hey, look, stay safe and thanks again for your time and all that. The people who are watching this don't realise or listening how much we mucked around getting this triple recording going. And we now know how to do it thanks to the patience of the guys at ShootProof. So thank you, and we'll catch up with you soon, all right?
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye, guys. Thanks.